The cleanup crews and disaster relief teams are working around the clock from New Jersey to New York City, trying to regain some type of normalcy after Superstorm Sandy. We have team coverage this hour with Sean Caleb's in New Jersey, where President Obama addressed his nation Wednesday afternoon, and Karina Huber in New York City. First, let's get the latest from Sean.
Mike, President Barack Obama got his first up-close look at the devastation in New Jersey today, spending several hours in Atlantic City with New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Now, Christie, a Republican, and Barack Obama, a Democrat, have been at odds during the hotly contested presidential race, but they have put their differences aside during the aftermath of this storm, trying to do what is best for the citizens. Christie saying he has been impressed with Barack Obama's compassion, and also saying that he is doing everything he can to help the people of New Jersey. For his part, the president says Chris Christie has been out in front of this storm, and he believes because of Christie's passion, the people of New Jersey will come back stronger than ever. The big focus here today was a return to some kind of normalcy. They want to get power restored in New Jersey, they want to get clean drinking water, and they want to get schools open again and kids back in those schools. Now, at the bottom of the hour, I'll have more on the president's visit, as well as how this storm has affected residents here in Atlantic City. That's coming at the bottom of the hour, Mike. Back to you.
Sean Caleb's in Atlantic City. Now we head a bit further north to New York City. Karina Huber, what's the situation like there?
We are on the road to recovery. Those were the words of New York City's mayor on Wednesday. And while that may feel true in some parts of the city and other areas where many are still without power, that felt far from the truth. However, on the positive, we saw that bridges and some of the tunnels were reopened to Manhattan. The buses are back up and running, and some of the trains are back on track as well. However, traffic really moved at a snail's pace on Wednesday. That's because most of the people coming into work in New York City were relying on taxis and cars. And of course, with not all of the tunnels functioning, that put a lot of pressure on the whole system. And at the same time, we still got many roads in Manhattan that are crossed down because of that hanging crane. So very difficult to get around New York City at this point. The subway system, which services about 5.5 million New Yorkers every day, still not functional. The governor saying that it is one of the biggest challenges right now getting water out of those subway tunnels. And he says he expects that it could be a couple of days before full restoration. Tomorrow, though, we should see some of the tracks being restored, particularly those servicing the northern part of the city. So that is a little bit ahead of schedule. When it comes to power, still many New Yorkers without lights, particularly in lower Manhattan. So that's leaving a lot of people trying to figure out ways to take a hot shower. They were desperately looking for ways to charge their phones. We heard from Con Ed, they said they restored about 2,000 customers, that is lights to 2,000 customers in Manhattan. But for the rest, they will not likely see energy coming back until Friday or Saturday. What is also noticeable about lower Manhattan, very hard to communicate with other people. I went down there, I saw that my cell phone wasn't working, I had no data on my phone. Government officials are saying roughly a quarter of the transmission sites in areas hit by Sandy were knocked out, and many are not supposed to come back online for a few days. Now, for those flying in and out of Manhattan, some good news. We saw that Newark and New Jersey was reopened. Same thing for JFK. However, there were fewer flights than normal. LaGuardia is still closed because there's been so much damage there, but we are hearing that it is expected to reopen tomorrow. So some good news for international travelers. Another major hospital, Bellevue, which has been relying on a backup generator, had to evacuate 700 patients. So a lot of pressure on the hospitals as well. So a lot of damage, a lot of stuff that needs to be done to get the city back on track and back on the road to recovery. Mike?
Karina Huber, live for us in New York. Thanks so much. And that is a look at our world headlines for now. We'll be back at the bottom of the hour with much more on all of this for you then at that time. Phil?
All right, look forward to it. Thank you very much, Mike. We also continue our special coverage here. The U.S. markets have reopened after shutting down for 2 days because of the obvious weather and also flooding. We continue with team coverage on that story. Michelle McCory is at the NASDAQ in Times Square. She's also joined by Li-Ling Tan. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Phil. That's right. And a very, very chaotic, crazy day here in Manhattan. But Wall Street has finally reopened after Superstorm Sandy's rampage through the Northeast. The NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange began trading as scheduled. And Li-Ling Tan was at the opening bell on Wall Street. She now joins us live. Li-Ling, what was the status on the floor?
Yes, Michelle, there was almost a collective sigh of relief at the New York Stock Exchange as the trading session started up at 9:30. And this comes after days of contingency planning, disaster drills, and non-stop monitoring of Sandy's impact. Thumbs up from Mayor Michael Bloomberg as he rings the opening bell a sign that the New York Stock Exchange and New York City are getting back on track post-superstorm. I am here on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. The session just began moments ago, this Wednesday, after 2 days of closure as Superstorm Sandy swept through the city. And with this activity you can see behind me, it's an early sign of the city back in business. On the trading floor, the session kicked off according to plan.
I was expecting exactly what we got. I felt that the exchange would be fully staffed, which, as you can see, it pretty much is. And I was expecting, as far as trading, it was a Monday.
Chief Operating Officer of the exchange, Larry Libowitz, was on the floor. He said public safety, building security, power and connectivity were priorities in getting the exchange back online.
We had a staff here since before the storm sleeping here. I was here all day yesterday and slept here overnight. You know, we were on the phone with our clients, with regulators, with other exchanges, with state governments, with city government. You know, everybody has been, you know, as usually happens in times of trouble, everybody has been extremely cooperative and constructive.
Still, some issues need to be worked out as markets try to get back to normal.
The thing that we're affected by is the outside vendors that are trying to pipe into the building. They still are experiencing problems. Hopefully they'll be making the adjustments and be fully functioning quite soon.
Powered by generators, the activity within the exchange was a stark contrast to the scene outside, a solemn reminder that the city is still recovering in the wake of Sandy. A solo tune there that mirrors the eerie silence of Wall Street, and that's because many of the buildings there, like much of downtown Manhattan, remain without electricity. Utility company Consolidated Edison hopes that power will be restored by the weekend. Back to you, Michelle.
All right, thanks so much, Ling Tang.